Um, so here are my 5 things. This is fun. When I was in kindergarten, one day we were going to celebrate spring, and so the nun in my classroom had me and the rest of the kids make these bees out of cardboard, and we painted them, and we attached beautiful little wings, and they had this little antenna and their eye, and the whole thing was just really pretty. And we were advised that the next day we would have this spring celebration, and our parents would come and they would like stand all around the patio. So the next day I arrived, and they keep insisting, stay in line, be orderly, and you're gonna walk down the path. And there was this beautiful, huge sort of landscape drawn on the patio. Um, and the landscape was kind of like Candyland, with lots of flowers and tulips and little trees and trellises and little, to go under and stuff like that. And there was a path, and we all followed in a very orderly way. We kept going, and at the end of the path, there was on the ground a bowl full of honey, and we were supposed to dip the tip of our bee, and then we could go up to our parents, and we could leave. I was waiting in my line, and all the different classrooms at the kindergarten were taking turns going down the little path, and then every child was flying his or her little bee. And so at some point I found myself, going down the path behind the little boy in front of me, and I was flying my little bee and all that. And the closer I got to the bowl of honey, the more I was just like really craving to have some of that honey. So I was looking at the bowl of honey, and I was getting closer with my bee in my hand. And so when I finally saw myself getting there, all of a sudden I take my bee, and I bend it like this, and I turn it into a huge scoop, and I lean over, and I put the whole bee into the plate, and I lift about a cup of honey, and my whole bee was just dripping with honey, and I was just like dripping it all over myself. And the nuns reacted, and they started running after me. They must have had a big laugh, because I just ruined the whole the whole thing. When I was in college in Ohio, I used to once in a while fly over to San Diego to see my family. So one day I go through my whole ritual of going to the airport, taking the limo, and going to the Cleveland airport, and waiting for my flight, and walking down all these corridors and stuff like that. And the next day I arrive in San Diego, and I wake up, and I'm walking down this corridor, and I see a woman who's walking to my right, and she's wearing this dark blue jumpsuit with a belt, and she's got high heels, and I'm walking. I'm a fast walker, so I'll keep walking, and I look over, and I realize the woman is with a sort of a guard who keeps slightly at a couple of feet behind her, and I keep walking, and I look over, and all of a sudden she looks at me and smiles in a wonderful sort of perky way, and she really lit up my morning. It was Dolly Parton. In my very early 20s, in the mid 80s, I went to visit friends in New York from college. I just like took off and from Cleveland and went over to New York. And in New York, my friends and I decided to have this really kind of a wild afternoon and evening in the Village, and we were not sober, and we were walking around trying to find people from the Velvet Underground, and trying to see if we could like run into Debbie Harry or Andy, and couldn't find Andy. So they decided to my friends decided to take me to Danceteria, which was this like really famous place where all the punk bands used to play. And so we walk into danceteria, and there's all these punks with mohawks and just wild hairdos and stuff like that. And the stage was lit by all these incandescent lights, so the stage was just extremely bright. And underneath the stage, there was a whole blob of people just slam dancing. And it was my first time slam dancing, and at first I thought, oh no, I'm not gonna do this. I was, like nice Catholic schoolboy still, and but I kind of couldn't resist, and I just went in and started slamming. And in the state that I was in, it was like this really kind of wonderful sensuous experience, just hitting all these people and falling all together and stuff like that. And there was girls there who were really kind of obnoxious and would push you, and like had all this attitude. And it was really kind of a very I think it was very much that moment in history, that movement, that fashion, that everything. In 1997, in the summer, while living in Spain, I decided to walk all the way from Pamplona to Santiago, which is a city in Galicia, which is north of Portugal. And so I walked 750 kilometers in 27 days, from July 28th until the August 23rd. And during those days in the middle of summer of walking all day long, something like anywhere between 15 to 30 kilometers every single day, I really experienced what it was like to really, really get thirsty. And so when we would arrive at all these little towns on the road to Santiago, we would arrive walking, and we'd see the fountain, and we would just like go crazy, because it was, you experience true thirst. So when we arrived at the fountains of the little towns, we would just like practically like go crazy and start bathing in the fountains and drinking all this water. And it was just this really kind of wonderful arrival at this oasis. We decided to make a stop at this famous monastery, and so we take this detour. It was actually quite a few miles detour just to like make it to that monastery. So we went to that monastery, and to the ones who took the detour and actually arrived at the monastery, there was this one monk that would make a huge pot of garlic soup, and we all sat in this very, very old, huge wooden table, and we had garlic soup, and it was very, very nice, very warm and replenishing. Right here in the canyon, that's this beautiful canyon that I have behind the project, about half an hour walk in there. And one day I went there by myself, and there's these ponds where I took my turtle recently, and I decided to just like walk around this big large pond and go on top of these really big rocks, and decided to take a nap on top of the rocks. But all of a sudden I feel right on my neck this sort of cool sensation, like a leaf or something hitting against my neck. And it was a water snake that decided to just completely ignore me and slide right over my body, slid by and went away. So that was kind of an interesting episode.